All right, Tennessee Tech head coach Dewayne Alexander, the Golden Eagles set to play Austin Peay this week. So, Coach, just general thoughts on your team heading into this season.
Well, we're excited about our team. We've had a lot of momentum from the 2019 season. Really, won some conference games and, had some big non-conference wins and had a lot of momentum going into the offseason and spring practice this past year. And obviously, like everybody, we had the COVID interruption, but our team has, really responded well here during the fall. And so far during all of our preseason practices, I've really liked the energy and, tempo, which our guys have practiced, how they've approached this schedule, which is unique for everybody. So I'm very excited about our team and very excited about the spring season.
Thanks, Coach. And if anybody has questions, I know there's some people up there listening. Just let me know down in the chat, and we can let you ask away. I want to ask everybody this question first, though, Coach. So where do you think your team's maybe made the biggest improvement, maybe from the end of 2019? And I know that's a long time ago, but to get to this point to play these games this season?
The biggest improvement we've made is we've had I tell you what this fall has done. It's allowed all of our teams to get, I think, a little bigger and faster and stronger, and to be able to effectively play some freshmen that we recruited. We were very excited about our last two signing classes, and we had some redshirted guys, from the 2019 season, plus the guys that we recruited here in this the class of 20. We were able to get a whole fall to have those guys in the weight room and practice them and another 20 something days here to practice with those guys before they actually have to play in games. So our freshmen are much further ahead, and we're going to play quite a few freshmen in our first game here against Austin Peay. And this season, we're going to have a lot of freshmen on the two deep and some that will start on both sides of the ball. So we're a much faster football team, especially defensively. We're faster in the secondary. We've been able to really develop our depth at the defensive line position. Really been trying to work to develop our offensive line position. Just me, I feel like you got to be good up front. We've really worked hard since I've got here trying to recruit offensive and defensive linemen and to get faster on defense. I think that was the three biggest areas that and we couldn't take a step forward as a program if we didn't get more physical up front on both sides of the ball and get more athletic and just be able to run better on the defensive side of the ball. So I certainly feel like those are all areas where our football team is much improved.
That being said, about where you've improved, how hard is it to prep for a team that hasn't played a game since? Now, the Austin Peay did play a few, not the fall games, but that hasn't played a conference game in a long time. So you maybe know a little bit more about Austin Peay than they know about you going into this game.
Well, I'm not so sure it's not the other way around because they have a whole new coaching staff. The games that they played in the fall, they played with an interim staff, an interim head coach, and a group of coaches that were left over from Coach Hudspeth's staff. And so they've had a head coaching change. They've brought in a lot of new assistant coaches. They have they're going to be different offensively with a different scheme. Scotty Walden, will be heavily involved with their offense. He's an offensive background, an offensive-minded coach. Was an offensive coordinator. That's been his background when he was a head coach at both places as the interim at Southern Miss and at East Texas Baptist. He's been a play caller. So, so they're going to be different on offense. And then defensively, same thing. They have a new defensive coordinator, some new defensive coaches. So, their scheme, I'm sure, is going to change and be more, be different than what they had last year. And then, trying to see which players, made the transition with the staff, to where we've got our staff in place. I mean, we have our players in place, really our, what we've done, our program, we're, as far as who we have and what we have and our staff, and as far as what we're going to do schematically, is going to be very similar, a lot of carryover to what we've done, previously here in 2018 and 19. So, it is a little bit difficult to prepare for, but all first games are that way. You're not sure. The biggest thing is personnel. You haven't really seen them on film. You're not really sure of their, things they just, you think what they like to do, but you don't know as much. Once you get two or three film, game tapes on somebody, you start to get, a lot better idea of who they are and what they are. So that, that makes for a little, but that's true of any opening game. I don't care who you play. I've been doing this to be my 33rd, season opener and my 20th as a head coach. And I think, they're all that way. I think the biggest thing you can do is take care of your team. Let's make sure we line up sound. Let's make sure that we Let's execute fundamentally. Let's make sure we do the things that we know that we can do. And there's going to be a little bit of getting adjusted to the speed of the game as in any first game. And it'll be that way for both teams.
We're calling this the spring season, but the weather is not very spring-like out there, and that's impacting every team. So it's not just your team, but just the thoughts on playing, and practicing, preparing in this weather.
Well, spring is I think every coach would chuckle and laugh to know that we called it the spring season. It is the winter season. Okay. It's going to be winter/spring season would be probably more appropriate. I've not seen a whole lot of spring in this now at all. We got a major, like everybody did here, got hit with it. We ended up with a major ice storm here is what we got. It was 30 degrees, 31 degrees and raining super hard. So we have tree limbs down, a lot of loss of power here in the upper Cumberland area. So, we're dealing with an ice event, not a lot of snow out of this, but a ton of ice. But we've been fortunate up until now. We've not had to miss any practices. We've been able to get out on the field the way we've set our schedule up. This past week, for example, we practiced, we had a Monday, practice and lift. We practiced Wednesday. We practiced Friday. We practiced Saturday. We practiced Sunday. Impossible to do anything yesterday, so we use that as our day off. Today, we're trying to round all the guys up. We're out of school here. We, touch base with all of our guys. We're going to go from noon to 3. We do have an indoor area, turf area that we can get half the team in at a time. So we're going to weight lift and walk through today and get on the field tomorrow. And really, it's just a daily thing. You have to be flexible and be able to adjust. But that's been unique. But here in the Upper Cumberland area, and I know schools like EIU, and there's a lot of schools that have to deal with this during the November period. Usually that last few weeks of the season. We certainly, in my time of coaching football here in Tennessee, I've coached all 33 years in the state of Tennessee, and I know a lot of Novembers that we have practiced in the snow and cold weather. So it's not unusual. It's just been a little different to start with that. Usually we're worried about heat index and thunderstorms when we start preseason practice. And so I think we're probably going to, flip that around and be more worried about thunderstorms here going into the spring. And I think every coach in the league right now is trying to figure out how to get snow off their field and ice off their field to get ready. We're hoping the temperature is going to warm up a little bit so we can have our field good and cleared. We're looking at a great weather day for Sunday against Austin Peay, 52 degrees and sunny. Boy, it just seems a long way from that right now, looking out my window. But it's any given day, that's what you can have, and that's been part of this whole thing. Our play. Look, you got to be flexible. You got to be, you've got to be able to let that roll off your back. Let Coach Alexander worry about logistics and all those type things. Let's just, whenever it's time to work, let's show up wherever it is and wherever we got to do it and whatever we got to wear, and let's show up and be ready to go. And our guys have done a good job of that, and that's kind of what we're going to do today. We've improvised, and main thing we've been worried about, we've got a lot of guys without power. They don't have, and it's getting down very cold and going to get cold tonight, making sure we have guys, that are without power and stuff like that they're able to get food and able to stay warm. But we'll practice today from 12 to 3 inside.
Sundays in the spring sounds better than Sundays in the winter, just so you know. That's why we're calling it that. We're going to go Van Stokes, Austin Peay, Governor's Radio. Go ahead with your question.
Hey, Coach, good to catch up to you again. You've got an outstanding quarterback in Bailey Fisher, and when I listened to you talk last time, you likened him to Fran Tarkington. Now, you mentioned the Cumberland Plateau and the snow. We've got more in the forecast. Temperatures possibly reaching 50 on Sunday. A lot of wet conditions, I expect, melting snow and ice. Do you think this is going to change your approach with Bailey Fisher or your game plan, offensively speaking?
Well, I don't know. I think obviously we'll have to wait and see. We're going to get there. It's supposed to be a windy day, as well. And, that's weather always affects, your thoughts game plan wise. I know, Coach Walden, he's a high tempo, up tempo, wants to go fast, and have a mix of run and throw. We're the same way. We want to throw the football, run the football, but it's one of those to where you kind of have to adjust to do what you can. And, but right now, with the weather, I'm telling you now, you watch it daily and it truly is changing every 24 hours. I've never seen anything like it. So, right now we have our base game plan that we have. We've practiced and prepared for Austin Peay, last week, starting last week. And, You know, right now we're going to stay with our base game plan, and, you know, we'll make some decisions, obviously, you know, Friday, Saturday, depending on what the Sunday forecast looks like. Right now, I'm just trying to gather all my guys up and round them up and see if I can get them to practice here at noon. But Van, you and I may be the only two guys that really remember Fran Tarkenton. So, but people ought to Google him and look back and realize that you know, Bailey's one of those guys that can make, whether the wind's blowing, whether it's wet or whatever. You know, Bailey's always shown up to play. He's always played well in really about every kind of condition, and he's one of those guys. He's just a football player. I'm not sure whether, you know, enters into his mind, you know, too much. Obviously, there are certain conditions, you know, that, you know, you have to make some adjustments. But you know, with that, we're gonna let Bailey go out and be Bailey, and we may have to make a few adjustments. And if we do, we will.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Coach, we appreciate your time this morning. Best of luck on Sunday, and we'll talk to you next week.